the experience of a random push cart in a place where you wouldn't expect it. As much as we try to tell people online where we're going to be, people just happen upon us more than anything else. So it's this unexpected moment of happiness.
Today's episode of the ProGuide is brought to you by Small Pond Productions, the producers of this podcast. If you're looking to boost your brand's voice with professional end-to-end podcast production, whether it's an interview show or telling stories with audio, we walk you through every step of the process to make you sound great. Head to our website and download the free Podcasting Made Simple guide. 8 critical things you need to know before launching your brand's podcast. It's all available at smallpond.productions. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the ProGuide, where we interview thought leaders in business, technology, productivity, and creativity. And I could not think of a better guest for today. It's an icy day out here in Delaware. We just had a fresh snow. And so, my goodness, I can't think of anybody better. But first, let me rewind everybody to 2011. I was at a leadership conference in Atlanta with the woman that I would later go on to marry. And in a hot day in the South, we stopped by a popsicle cart, and it was there that I had what I consider to be the best popsicle of my entire life. I would say since as well. So it's sad that unless I head to Atlanta again, or there's shipping options, it'll probably be all downhill from here. I got a chocolate salt, I think it was, and my wife got it was a chocolate sea salt, and my wife got I think it was strawberry basil. Yeah.
Got them. We've gone through the first 500 or 600 combinations you can think of. So you could really just say 2 ingredients, and I'd probably be like, oh yeah, we probably did that. I don't know.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, just mix and mash, do the slot machine, and have different flavors show up.
There you go.
There it is. Who knew that a popsicle could be that impactful? So much so that it seared into my brain. So and remember it to this day. So let me go ahead and say, Steve Carse, thank you so much for joining us today.
Excited
the founder
to be
and
here.
CEO of King of Pops. Yeah, I'm so grateful. I know that when I wrote the email to reach out to you, just kind of saying, hey, a popsicle, who knew, it had an impact on me. But I would love for you to take us back to most creative journeys, entrepreneurial journeys have an inflection point. I did a little bit of digging knowing that you kind of got things going in 2009. What made you just kind of pop open one day and say, popsicles, that's where I'm going to head?
Yeah, so I've got a world-class set of older brothers, and my oldest is a anthropologist. And he was doing his field work throughout Latin America, Mexico, Ecuador, Panama, Colombia, to name a few places. And my default trip kind of during college and right after college was just to go find where he was and sleep on his couch, and he'd usually show me something interesting. And during those travels, we fell in love with the paleta, which is the Spanish version of a popsicle. And instead of artificial flavorings and sugar and all these things that are really not necessary, they're made with interesting, high-quality ingredients. Fell in love with that idea, just felt like it would be something that would be appropriate to bring back to the U.S. Was going to farmers markets back home. The food truck thing in Atlanta was kind of just starting. I think we were late to that bus, and now probably the bus is kind of left in most ways. But at that point in time, it seemed like, wow, this would be this great business that would just make sense. I was a product analyst at AIG. My brother Nick was just finishing law school. He would go on to be a lawyer. And my oldest brother Ash was studying to be an anthropologist. He had over a decade kind of invested in this. So it didn't seem like it really made a whole lot of sense. But I got laid off during the Great Recession from a large insurance company, and just kind of decided, I had this vision of just myself old, sitting on my front porch trying to explain what I was doing, just not having a great story to tell. And I really wanted to have a good story to tell. I said, let's just do this for a year. Insurance isn't going anywhere. I can always come back and do it. And so I went for it, and the rest is history. I thought maybe I'd do it for a year, but it somehow took off. It was, getting laid off made it like a newsworthy story, kind of got us some big press pieces that we probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And just a lot of things lined up perfectly. A lot of the guesses we made were right, and then a lot of the guesses we made were wrong, but we pivoted early and often on things quite nicely. So I've been doing it now. It's crazy, 15 years. So it's kind of all I know.
Who knew though? I mean, like, because it's like, there's a committed to the bit kind of piece here where it's like, you know what, I'm making my life at this point, or my career at this point.
And I decided that like about a year in. I mean, I think once I realized it was a real thing, it's like, I don't want to do anything else. It was terrifying each winter because obviously sales, you talked about the weather kind of being a little icy. Like our sales are, pretty slow during these cold months, and January, February in particular. So you got to do what you can, but I just didn't want it to go away. And I just remember the feeling those first 2 years of like, is this just a fad? Is this like this cupcakes thing? Am I going to get to continue doing it? And it's just like selfish. I just really personally wanted to do it instead of going back to something that I didn't at the time have a whole lot of interest in. So luckily I've been able to keep it rolling with a lot of help.
If you had to articulate what the I'll call it the and kind of draw around this a little bit, like what the and is for this, because there's popsicles, there's popsicles everywhere, but there's popsicles and there's an intangible that you kind of get with this as well. When people think of the easiest go to is like Starbucks in the third place that they had for a while, and they said there's this like intangible kind of extra quality you get. Is the word joy? There's some. I mean, there is fun, I would say. What's the word that kind of goes with it?
I think there's like, and I've tried to unwind this quite a bit as well. And I've thought a lot about it. I don't have a single word yet. But I think there's certainly joy. I think a big part of it is when we explain it in our training, you're used to a counter. And when you have a cart, you're kind of just in it. You're just kind of in the community next to somebody, and they're not on one side of a counter necessarily. They might be sitting next to you. You don't never know. They might come from behind you. You got to be ready for all these things. Yeah. But I think there's like the experience of a random push cart in a place where you wouldn't expect it. As much as we try to tell people online where we're going to be, people just happen upon us more than anything else. So it's this unexpected moment of happiness is what we say in our, as our company purpose, to tell you the truth, a lot more than just popsicles. But I think that's really what it is. You're not expecting it, and then you do get it. You do find somebody that's friendly, that is interested in the product, and then the product is hopefully like exceeding your expectations. So I think at every level, we just want it to be a little bit, it's like unexpected, completely unnecessary moment of joy.
Yeah, completely unnecessary moment of joy. I think that's well articulated. I also got the sense of like with too, like when you say that the erasure of the counter, there's not an us them. It's just like you're here with us all. We're all with us.
I think that's right. I mean, I think a little bit of what I'm trying to push the brand towards, and I think it naturally is there, is we are a good way that you can go out and get to know your community. And it can be in the guise of going to get a pop. And a lot of us need like a little bit of extra nudge to get off of our cell phones or whatever it is to go interact with the world. And I think this is like a healthy way for people to say like, okay, I'm going to go to the Magic the Gathering convention or the, whatever art festival there might be that maybe they wouldn't necessarily go to, but they go find the cart and then they see some interesting things and meet some interesting people. I think that's something that is really like in demand in a way that people haven't quite put their arms around fully.
It's the excuse to do something you probably either already should or already want to do anyway. And you mentioned just a second ago about we've had some successes, we've had some failures, but luckily we've kind of been able to pivot. What are some of the things that maybe looking back, you were like, I thought that was a good idea at the time. We tried it and didn't necessarily pan out for us, but hey, we recovered and we made our way through it. So what kind of fit that category for you?
The biggest one happened before we officially opened. We planned on having a shop, like a little store, and I had it all picked out, and it was next to this gas station. And when I was 25, and I was really intimidated walking into the back offices of these guys, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we'll rent you this little tiny space." And I was excited about it, and I thought I could just, not super handy, but maybe I'm in like the 70th percentile or something. Thought I could go for it. And then I found out quickly that it was like, it was going to be like 30, 40 grand minimum, and I had saved 7,000. So I was like, hey guys, turns out I don't have enough money or I'm not handy enough. Can I sell out of these push carts that I've seen, throughout Latin America? And you see them through neighborhoods in every big city, like a lot of Latin neighborhoods will have these push carts. And I was like, will you just let me do that until I can save up enough? And that was the first, like, I wasn't smart enough to know that, but that was infinitely better business at the time than having a little shop, because I could go to everywhere, and quickly became 2, 3, 4, 5 places at once instead of just one. And it just made it more unique, I think, as well, to be fully committed to that idea. So, I mean, I think that's the first one. And I think once you realize that, like, you know, best laid plans were wrong before you start, you have a pretty low barrier to question, is this right or not? And we do that with flavors too. Like, it really, like you said, I don't know if it was strawberry balsamic or strawberry basil. Like, I really don't know, because we've made all these flavors, because the opportunity cost is pretty low to make, you know, a couple hundred pops, see if people respond well to it. Because within our offices and our kitchen and all the people that are tasting them, you can literally give the exact same pop to 5 people. This is just like anything in the world. And 2 people will love it, 1 will be indifferent, and 2 people will hate it, or some combination of those. That typically is not like, you get some that are just absolute hits, of course, like chocolate sea salt. We basically have to have it on every cart, but it's fun to just throw things out there, see what sticks, and then roll with it.
What about flavors themselves? I mean, like you said, it's a low barrier to entry, kind of low. Are you just exploding with flavor ideas all the time, or is there just, you know, you get submissions? Is it a combination? Are you just passionate about how does it work?
I'm slightly tapped out, to tell you the truth. Like, I kind of like my enthusiasm around a new idea. Like, I kind of have to fake it sometimes when we have a training and someone says something, because they're excited about it. You need to be excited about it too. But yeah, we've been through so many that it's hard maybe to get excited about the idea, but I still do get excited about when we taste something new. And there are like a lot of just kind of weird fruits, and there's always new trends. Like, we made a golden milk pop this year that, you know, I had, for whatever reason, never had golden milk, and it was delicious. Like, so that's now one of my new faves, you know? So I think it's cool to get surprised, even though you've been in the popsicle game for a while, because humans keep coming up with new things that taste good. So most of those can translate into pops one way or another.
I appreciate, I haven't seen the sriracha show up, but I appreciate not every single trend showing up, which is good. I have to say though, I haven't had any conversations with you outside of email prior to this conversation. I do get a sense of a very, you know, humble or chill kind of just like approach to this, which I'm having trouble a little bit reconciling with the ambition needed to really create something and the passion needed to really create something that's the magnitude that it is. Talk to me a little bit about this, you know, open-handed, it feels like, approach, but at the same time, there is something that drives you, I can tell.
Definitely. Yeah. I think laid back is a desire that I hope to achieve. And some days I do, and some days I don't. I think outwardly, I certainly push for it. And then, I mean, do things keep me up at night? Definitely. I know in my heart of hearts that being stressed about things and having too much outward anxiety doesn't actually help with any outcomes. Does that mean that I'm able to avoid them? No, but yeah, I think it's such a simple business idea that you can't be too proud of yourself, you know? Like, we're selling popsicles out of a cart, but the thing is that we just kept doing it. So like, we've seen a lot of people that have done the same thing that have come and gone, and we've just kept getting better. And it's like compounding interest or any of these things. Like, if you keep doing something long enough, and I don't plan to do anything else. So like, and there are people in Mexico that have done it for many generations. So they've got, 50, 60 years on me sometimes. But I think like, if you keep doing something and you keep putting yourself into the same problem and trying to solve it a little bit better every day, I'm a little less worried about this winter problem. Like, I think in March, April, it will get warm again and people will buy pops.
Sure.
But I can't say that I don't worry about it a little bit. And even if I get a couple rainy Saturdays, like, my wife will look at me like, why are you in such a bad mood? I'm like, well, it's raining and it's a Saturday. So of course I'm in a slightly bad mood, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I think try to be laid back, but catch me on a bad day,
It's on brand, as well. Like, I'm sharing joy. And so like, how can I be too uptight if I'm sitting here, like, giving people something that just gives them.
Exactly. Yeah. It would be a bad look if the popsicle salesman was too angry.
That's right. Talk to me about, what gets you when you're feeling stuck? If you're feeling stuck in regards to flavors, where are we going to distribute? How's this going to happen? Maybe staffing. Like, what kind of eases you off or backs you away when you're feeling stuck mentally and saying, okay, hold on a second, let me recalibrate and kind of get things together here?
Yeah, I've got a huge strategic and like a card up my sleeve, or whatever the right metaphor is, in that I work closely with my brother. So he's probably my best friend, and he's in it with me, and we're related. So it's a combination for disaster, and also a combination for like, you've got somebody that knows so much about the business, obviously, but also you. And so we have a good cadence of just going through what's bothering us. And I found, I would hope that I would have found this if I wasn't working with them, but once you say something out loud to somebody else, I think that's the hardest part. I think you get most stuck when you're just ruminating on things, and you're not sharing it because either you don't know how to articulate it, or you think the other person's not going to understand. And so you just have the thought in your head. I feel like as soon as you let it out, you immediately start to feel a little bit better. And especially if it's somebody that's just, aligned with you, has the same goals, cares about you. I mean, that makes it even easier.
What do you feel like is inspiring you most recently? I mean, that could be just something you've encountered, a book, a talk, anything that just you've shown up and you're like, oh man, I don't even know what to do with that yet, but there's something there. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I think this is probably happening. It's a New York Times bestseller, I think, but the Unreasonable Hospitality book. I don't know if you've read that. Yeah. I think it was like, I get probably once every other year, just a book will just kind of like really resonate with me. And it just made me want to do so much better. And it's just so cool. I mean, it's amazingly written book, but also just the stories in it were great. But that's been inspiring for me, and to think about a little bit too of like, I've been really trying to think about what is our true like addition to society, which is kind of deep.
What mark
I think
are we
the
gonna
pops
make?
are a big part of it. But I really do feel like there's a space, and I don't know I even have the skill set to do this yet, but like, I mean, I'll just let it out of the bag here. You can see if this makes it through the edit or not. I'm not sure it even makes sense, but I've been inspired by kind of like the Michelin Awards came to Atlanta, which was a cool process to see. And then you kind of read the story. It's a tire company that, I mean, this was brilliant marketing however long ago. And they're basically saying like, these are the restaurants you need to go. And that is a gift to people, like not even their customers, like anybody that wants it. And so I've been trying to think a lot about that. And I think it's pretty aligned with kind of the Michelin idea, but we know so much about festivals and like free community events, because that's like what we're actively trying to go to. But there's not that I'm aware of, you might be aware of one, there's not like a space for this to be rated fairly. Like everyone will always kind of say like, my festival is the best, or my farmer's market is the best, or whatever. So I'm imagining like, I've been dreaming about this a little bit lately. I mean, I don't know if we'll use stars or popsicles or whatever, but to start kind of rating these things, and maybe not rating any of them badly, but you only get an award if you're extra noteworthy. I think that could be really cool. I think it leans into this idea of like, go be outside and do something with people. We kind of need more reasons to do it, or more nudges, if you will. And I'd be excited if that would be so. I'm trying to figure out how we can do this. And I think it probably is just, you have to talk about it for 50 years and then eventually it becomes a thing. But how do you start that process, I think, is something that I've been noodling on quite a bit.
Oh yeah, leading the conversation. Yeah, leading that conversation of extra, that's there.
Yeah.
And maybe your answer to this next question is that, but I want to give you the opportunity to differentiate if you like to. If you have the billboard, the billboard to the world that says anything you want regarding entrepreneurship, and it could be the most frustrating thing too, where it's just like, man, if I could have everybody just get this thing, man, that would really help me out, help the world out. What would that billboard say?
I need to think of how to wordsmith it a little bit. I know I can remember this feeling that there was a group of people that were smarter, that were pulling strings, that just were more connected, knew more things, or something like that. And the longer I've been in it, and the more I've talked to people that were millionaires, and then I mean, a few billionaires, like we're all just kind of the same folks.
Yeah.
And I think that's like if you can actually absorb that and internalize it, I think it's really valuable. So I can't think of I listen to Tim Ferriss, so I should know, I should have thought about this ahead of time. But I don't have the words. Let me think about it really quick. I don't like we're all just regular folks.
We're all people.
Something
Yeah.
to that. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's that special, and it's all just...
It's accessible. Yeah, it's accessibility. Yeah. This feeling like there's obstacles in the way. They're all in your head. They're not real. Like literally just go out there and talk to folks.
Yeah, I think maybe another way is like it isn't that serious. Like no one's job is actually that serious. And we're all like, we make ourselves get worked up into a tizzy about things that oftentimes, if you, like I said before, if you say them out loud to somebody else or really reflect on it, like nobody, it does not matter.
Well, I'd love to have you share a little bit about, you mentioned you've just written a book as well.
I have,
which is incredible.
Let me get it.
And let me say while you're getting it that, yes, work is fun, which I feel like is incredibly on brand, as is this conversation. I have not been disappointed in the least by this conversation. Tell us about what people will find if they pick up that book.
Yeah, so it's a little bit, I mean, it's quite a bit of what we've already chatted about, but the book is my experience of going from loving work as a kid growing up. Like I was a referee. I liked it. I started an eBay business. I liked it. I even worked at the dining hall and I liked it. Like everything I kind of liked my work. I was a journalism major, and then I went and worked for a newspaper, and I really loved it. And then at some point I decided like, okay, no, work has to get serious now. And I wasn't making enough money in journalism. So I took this job in insurance, and it was not even the job that was the problem. It was just my approach to the job was, okay, this is now not going to be fun. So I didn't give it a chance to be fun, which I think is an important part of the story.
Sure.
I just assumed I was going to have to kind of have all of my fun either on the weekends or during vacations or after work. And then work was just going to be like this miserable slog. And so when I got laid off, I was like, okay, I don't want my existence to be this. I think it might have to be, but I'm going to give this popsicle thing a shot. Popsicles I knew was going to be fun. And then the work was fun. But when I reflect on it now, like the content of most of my work today, which I love, is not all that much different than it was when I was working in insurance. It's a lot of spreadsheets and going through invoicing and I don't know, just analyzing things from like a business perspective. But I love it. And I would easily work far beyond when I need to go home to take care of my family, and on the weekends and all of these things. But I make myself kind of stop to do that. And so the book is about this, what I think is a fact, in that you can make your work more fun. I think everyone can make it more fun. I'm not saying every job ever can be the most fun thing in the world, but I think everyone could have more fun. And I think probably most jobs can be fun. And especially kind of like, you know, the people that are lucky enough to be in the United States and have quite a bit of opportunities to do things. So the book is about my tips and tricks to do that, and what I've learned kind of through a popsicle business that I think is pretty relatable, but it's ultimately just selling a widget to somebody and figuring out ways to do more of that each year. What are the lessons that you can apply from that to your own life, I think is what I tried to write in the book, and threw in some popsicle anecdotes for everyone's enjoyment.
Which will be enjoyable, I can almost promise. Which fantastic. I think that's awesome. And if you're listening to Steve right now saying, well, my job is boring, I don't care what you say, I can almost guarantee you that you will instantly make it so much better if you just add a popsicle to your job. So,
there you go.
I mean, it's easy. Thanks, It's so easy.
It's not officially one of the tips, but I'll add it. I think that's a good idea. Just more, that would increase sales if everyone did that.
Steve, how can folks, if they're interested in just finding out more about what you're up to or connect with you or just be in your orbit?
Most active on LinkedIn. So pretty active there and trying to publicize. The book's coming out April 1st, which is actually King of Pop's 15th birthday. So I prematurely said 15, but I was working on it before we opened for business. So pretty active on LinkedIn. The book comes out April 1st, which I'm really excited about. And we are also looking for a great King of Pops. We call them cartrepreneurs. So if you're convinced that your job can't be fun and you do want to go sling pops, we are slinging currently from as far north as DC, and as far south as Miami. We've got franchisees, but we're expanding quite a bit. So looking for folks all over the East Coast if anyone's interested in joining up, getting on a cart, and building a business with us.
That's fabulous. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. And our thanks to all of you for listening. If you're looking for a quick way to make our day, a review in iTunes or subscribing to this podcast would mean the world to us. Our thanks to Small Pond Productions for sponsoring. And this was the ProGuide. Learn from leaders, change your life. See you, everybody.